Hi, everybody. I'm George, and this is the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest, at least. And today's guest is a comedian you might have seen on College Humor and a presiding member of the Stephen King Rules Club. Andrew Stanton is here. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, George, thanks for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. I had that written before I saw your shirt, which does apply. So,
Nice, yeah.
tell us a little bit about your history with horror, how you got into it.
In a lot of ways, the film we're going to talk about today was really instrumental in that. It's probably my first favorite movie. As like a little kid, I think this was the first movie I ever really had enough affection for that ever spoke to me enough to where I was like, this is my favorite movie. And I've always been the sort of person who my favorite thing is like I watch the shit out of it, like wring every bit of life out of it I can. So like I used to watch this movie like every day as a little kid, like 5, 6.
Wow, perfect fit for today then. So does that have any influence then on your favorite subgenre? Are you like way into Universal Classics because that was what these guys were into?
Oh no. Oh yeah, no. Yeah. I would say like through most of my life as a fan of stuff in general, like I gravitate towards kind of the more like intense and like fantasy, like hard sci-fi, things like that. Like I would ordinarily honestly would call myself more of a fantasy fan more than a horror fan. Like like even when I read like horror things, I usually read them more like as one might read a fantasy story, things like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So do you find then that Stephen King in particular fits that Venn diagram in a uniquely fantastical way?
Yeah, I do. And what did it for me was the Dark Tower books. Like I'd read a couple of his books like early on, like when I was a kid. Like when I was like the first thing I'd read by him was Cujo when I was 14, which is not an especially good book. But
hey, you said it, not me.
Yeah, it's not, like I've read all of his books, and I feel like I can confidently say that Cujo's not one of the good ones. Yeah, and I read like The Stand and It and Salem's Lot, all of which are amazing, but like they hadn't like really hooked me because I was attracted to stuff like like Lord of the Rings, and and the Dark Tower books are really like they have a lot of fantasy trappings to them, so they're much easier to view them as like sword and sorcery kind of like high fantasy magic shit happening, like demons and mutants and shit. And he kind of like sets the framework for how magic works across like all of his books. And like once you have it, and I remember having read it fairly recently when reading the Dark Tower series and getting to like the third book where he really starts to lay it out and realizing holy hell, like now I have all this context, and made the previous books make more sense.
Yeah.
Like thinking back on specifically on it, like just having this moment like, oh man, that makes that previous book feel so much more exciting now. And like after I finished the Dark Tower series, I went right back to it, which is a brick, dude.
That's not a
14
beach read.
Yeah, it's like an 1,100 page book, and it was so much more satisfying,
That's awesome.
And like I read it in the context like it was a story about a D&D party. You know what I mean? That's like basically what it is.
I'm curious to hear then, as the Stephen King aficionado, what your favorite Stephen King adaptation is and what you think the best Stephen King adaptation is, if those aren't the same, as in like the most faithful, perhaps, even if it's not one that you are the most fond of.
Yeah. I'm glad you say that because they are different. I mean, the one that resonated with me the most was the old version of it. Again, that's my favorite book of his. And even from a really young age, like as a little kid, that old like 1990 like TV movie version of it with Tim Curry, like it scared the hell out of me. It's like one of it's probably the second movie that really scared me. The first being Child's Play.
Wow.
That's because that kid's name was Andy, and I was a little kid.
There you go. Yeah, well, it was Georgie for me in it. So,
oh my god, dude! Oh my god, that can mess with a kid.
It sure does.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that must have been brutal. I'm sorry, but yeah, I'd say the most faithful that I've seen recently is got to be The Mist. Like I recently rewatched The Mist, and I'd also like kind of reread the story because that one that is a beach read. You know, you could sit and read that over lunch, and it really like captures the spirit and the actual like the sequence of events.
Yeah.
And actually like expands on it a little bit. Like that, brutal gut punch of an ending. Like,
it's so good.
Oh my god. And like that's like an invention of the film. And it's beautiful. Like it works amazingly well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's still it's the same. Like I feel like it's almost scene for scene. There's like a couple, extra little things in there, but it really faithful adaptation for sure.
Definitely the case. I'm a big fan of that one, and I still have to revisit the It miniseries. It still is a little scary to me to go back to. But
you know what? If you watch it now, I feel like you'll be less.
I feel confident, but
it's I love it still as an artifact.
Right.
It's got some places where it can be improved.
Right, especially I think probably once you get into the second part, I remember being particularly.
yeah. I feel like because like the kids, at least in the first part, could be into it, and at least that tracks with the story.
Yeah,
the kids are into it, and the adult actor's like, "What the? What is this nonsense?"
Yes, absolutely. But we're not here to talk about it today. The movie we're talking about today is 1987's The Monster Squad, directed by Fred Dekker, who co-wrote it with Shane Black. Now, not a ton of production information that I could find on this one, to be honest. I even watched the Wolfman's Got Nards documentary, but that was more about the fandom than it was about the movie itself. So I found what I could find, and what I could find was that this was made by a team of people who absolutely loved the Universal classics. And the problem arose that despite monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula being based on literary works, the famous Jack Pierce designed look that they wanted to imitate was copyrighted by Universal, to say nothing of the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Mummy, all of which had been deemed original characters and were owned by Universal outright. And so they turned to Stan Winston's effects company to help them out. Stan Winston, absolute legend of filmmaking and special effects. And this movie, I feel like kind of, there is so much of the friendship and camaraderie that is a joy to behold in this movie. But without the special effects to really seal the deal, I don't know that this movie has the impact that it has. Oh,
it looks fantastic. Like even today, I watched it this afternoon. It looks great.
Absolutely, it does. And so the problem was really that they needed the makeup to be different enough that it was legally distinct, but close enough that it was still evocative enough to enable the movie to function. And so Stan assigned a designer to each monster, tasking them with the redesign challenge. Frankenstein's monster and Dracula needed the least adjustment because of their origin in the books. Tom Woodruff Jr. worked on Frankenstein, who was played by Tom Noonan of Manhunter fame. Love to see that guy pop up again.
Right.
And he's really great in that. And I think it's interesting that Manhunter is so interesting because he kind of plays this wounded person who is like lashing out at the world around him. And I think that this big hulking Frankenstein's monster who has the heart of gold inside, there are elements of his performance from Manhunter that I think do translate into this one as well. And I think that Tom Noonan is really spectacular at portraying that kind of brute opening themselves up a little bit.
Yeah, like the Frankenstein character is so sweet. Like,
yeah,
his relationship with the little kids is it's adorable. It's fresh.
Absolutely. One of Frankenstein's notable changes is shifting the electrode bolts from his neck to his temples. I will also say that they specify several times that he is Frankenstein's monster, and that may be true. But as far as I'm concerned, he is also Victor Frankenstein's son, and thus also a Frankenstein. Problem solved. So for brevity or variety, I may bounce around between calling him Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster.
No, I think you make an excellent point, and I think that kind of puts the argument to rest in my mind. Like, he's a Frankenstein. Dude.
There we go, done and done.
Correct.
He even names him Adam. And so if you're going to name him a first name, he's got to have a family name too.
Yeah, is the birth certificate just going to say Adam on it?
I don't think so. Adam Frankenstein.
What are they going to call him in school? What if there's another Adam?
It's a very common name. Dracula was played by Duncan Rhaegar, and the design was done by Alec Gillis. And this was less prosthetics than Frankenstein. So Gillis had time to also design this man-bat transformation that he does, which is also just outrageously good. And it's so early. What an amazing way to really draw you in and be like, this is the kind of effects that you're in for. These two actually wound up creating their own studio together, Amalgamated Dynamics. So there you go. Rhaegar was perhaps shockingly voted by the readers of Wizard Magazine to be the emblematic and scariest version of Dracula, coming in at number 30 overall on their 2006 list of greatest villains. This is really an interesting take to me. I think he is really great. It's got to be very satisfying for the casting department to read that, especially because they had gotten to the point of having Liam Neeson so far in the casting process that they still paid him for the role. And then we're like, nope, it's this guy. And it turns out they were right.
Yeah, he's great. He really, I really love him in this movie. He's a fantastic villain. I'm amused at him being ranked like the scariest version of Dracula because I don't think he's very scary. Like I don't think he's a particularly scary Dracula. I think he's a really dope Dracula. Like I was this Dracula for Halloween like 5 times growing up.
And who could blame you?
Right, because it's perfect. He wears a Halloween Dracula costume. it's this insane, ridiculous costume. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Jack Rosengrant handled the Wolfman, which, like I said, was one that needed to be more divergent from the Jack Pierce design. So they went more animalistic and actually based the face mold off of Stan Winston himself. The Mummy, you can only go so different, really. They got Michael Reed McKay. He's on the shorter side at 5'7", and Shane Mahan really played up kind of the decrepit and shriveling angle of the Mummy, which I think works pretty well. You know, he is kind of like eerie to look at as he is hanging out there on the side of the road, looming at them. You're like, oh, I don't get out of here.
Yeah, his role is to disturb.
Yeah. Most intensive, however, was the Gill Man, originally made famous in the Black Lagoon movies that came later than those previously mentioned. Specifically 1953, 54. And this costume was then not done by Jack Pierce, but Millicent Patrick as a conceptual artist, Chris Mueller as the key sculptor, and Jack Cavan as the suit fabricator. Now, the counterparts for this movie were a very, very young Steve Wang and Matt Rose, who are also icons in and of themselves. And the two of them worked together on this in a collaboration that would live on beyond this movie, when they utilized very similar spotted body style for the Predator. And so that Predator design would never have existed without this one. There you go. Movie connections, baby.
You know what? You know, they do kind of look similar. they share a resemblance, like they're cousins.
Yeah, for sure. And these guys are all huge icons in what's known as the makeup revolution of the 80s. And it shows because, like we said, this movie looks incredible. What a joy to have them all working together. Because this, if they didn't have an incredible team across the board, there's just so much demand on this team in this movie, because it's not just 4 or 5 monsters. It's also them transforming and exploding and doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah. And you know, the opening of the movie too. Yeah. That Van Helsing scene with the floor opening and the skeletons coming out of the floor. And oh man, like the beginning of this film is so intense.
And it's not even close to what they wanted it to be. They had these grand ambitions for the opening sequence, which it still wound up pretty grand.
Opening,
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And they were going to have these huge armies and zeppelins storming the castle too. And they said that their budget for the original opening was more than the final budget for the entire movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense because the opening looks awesome.
Yeah, it really does. And that budget is only about $14 million, according to a contemporary article, which is not very much for a monster movie with one monster, much less a handful and a variety of other special effects as well. Unfortunately, it did flop on release on August 14th, making just under $2 million back and getting derided as a Goonies ripoff, which, in my opinion, is a huge disservice to both movies, which both have their own merits.
Yeah, they're not the same. They're not the same at all. Like, I mean, I get the comparison.
There's a group of kids. That's it.
Yeah, group of kids goes on an adventure.
Yeah,
but like they don't fight monsters in the Goonies. Like they solve a mystery. It's totally different. Like this is more like the Ghostbusters. Like they form like a business. Like at the end, they have cards.
Oh yeah, perfect. They're contractors for the army potentially at the end.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Since then, however, the movie has found its audience, gaining a fan base large enough to merit the aforementioned documentary Wolfman's Got Nards, directed by Andre Gower himself, who plays our protagonist Sean Crenshaw, and it's been labeled the best horror movie ever made by us on this very here show. So there you go.
High praise.
Yeah, indeed.
Some serious accolades there.
That's right. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back to the show. Whoa, an ad. Don't freak out. Just wanted to let everybody know about the cool posters we now have for the best little horror house in Philly, a horror house party, and everyone was invited. Friend of the pod and incredible artist A.T. Pratt, who you may remember from the Eraserhead or You Are a Shark episodes, put together an amazing poster with at least one reference to every movie we've covered as the best on this podcast. You can check them out at littlehorrorphl.com/shop, but also patrons can get a 15% off coupon, which is basically the cost of the month of Patreon. So, that's an option too. I think the posters are rad as hell. Check them out, see how many you can name, and now back to the show. To get into the actual movie, I love, not even before we get into the enormity of the fun opening, it's a great opening scroll. Very intense in its old-timey font, the color of the classic red paint blood on a black void. It looks great.
Mm-hmm. They blew it.
Yeah, exactly. It reads, 100 years before this story begins, it was a time of darkness in Transylvania, a time when Dr. Abraham von Helsing and a small band of freedom fighters conspired to rid the world of vampires and monsters and to save mankind from the forces of eternal evil. They blew it. Great. Perfect tone setter. Totally understand what you're in for. Thunder rumbles, a wolf howls. You're in, baby.
Mm-hmm. And then it's Castlevania, dude. Then it's like, then it's like Dracula shit happening. It's great.
It totally is. And most importantly to me, the armadillos are back. That alone would make this a 10 out of 10 for me. I'm a longtime proponent of the armadillos coming back in Dracula lore. This is a big soapbox moment for me.
Yeah. Like let's talk about this because like I like they've always stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever since being a little kid, I was just like, what? Like it weirded me out. I have read Dracula. I don't remember anything about armadillos.
So in the 1930s one, the Todd Browning version, they were like, all right, we have this Dracula's castle set. We need it to look exotic. And so they filled it with armadillos, possums, and bees.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It makes sense.
Classic vampire accoutrement.
Yeah. With some nice Romanian, like Transylvanian armadillos.
Exactly. And
I have no idea the range of armadillos. There might be.
No, they are native to the Americas, actually.
Oh. Like I knew that. I didn't know if perhaps there was a variety of armadillo.
Nope. They just said, fuck it. Dracula has armadillo friends. And I love it. I think that the armadillos should be in every vampire thing. There should be armadillos hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, he has control over the lower beasts, so it does.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Find a way to him.
The man-bat transformation, like we said, is also a great way to start at the beginning. Draws you right in as Dracula emerges from the shadows. Great stuff. We also get this big explosion as the forces of Dr. Van Helsing intrude and kill one of Dracula's brides. They read an incantation that causes the dead to emerge in protest and the ground to quake before a portal comes out of a jewel, sucking in the girl who is reading, among other things. Very hectic. This feels kind of Indiana Jonesy, that kind of like cold open and like this like archaeological place, but having the dead rise, it's just so fun, so adventurous. It really gets you going.
Yeah, it's super metal. It's so cool. Like when I was when I was real little watching, and I thought it was scary. It was nightmarish, dude. Like the concept of like this big hole in space that would like suck you into some unknown black void.
Classic.
Like, I would say it's still scary to me as an adult. I mean, there are times as an adult when I'm like, please let that be how I go. But no, yeah. As a kid, it was terrifying, and watching this movie and as an adult, it's like such a different experience because this is still really cool.
Yes,
and like, I think the thing that that I most love about this movie is the kid logic of it, and I think that's the brilliance of it. Because the entire thing, I mean, there are some logic questions in this script, I say, in this movie, but like all of it like perfectly tracks if you're thinking of it as a little kid.
Definitely.
So like growing up, everything, every beat of it made perfect sense. It's like, oh, duh, that is how this would go if this
obviously
arose IRL.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that kid logic is kind of part and parcel to the feeling of authenticity that kind of does run through this movie. There's a scene later on where he's trying to convince his dad to let him go see a movie. And it's just so real. Like I was like, yeah, this is me 1,000 times over. I mean, we'll talk about it more when it's there, but just that feeling of realism and understanding of what being a kid is like, I think does track through the entirety of the movie. But we cut to present day. Sean and Patrick, played by Andre Gower and Robbie Kiger, real life best friends, are in the principal's office being lectured about spider with human head. Great monster.
Terrifying. I mean, I feel like the scariest part of a spider is the face.
Yeah. Normal spider, not great. Spider with human head? Get that shit right out of here. And to wit, we learn about their monster club this way. Let's get this out of the way. There is some dialogue throughout the movie that is unfortunately accurate in depicting the cruelty that can run rampant among young boys between the homophobia and the nickname of fat kid for Horace. It's not ideal, but I think that what the rest of this movie has to offer is still worthwhile enough to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Other people may feel differently. It is certainly a relic of the time in which it came out. I think it does reflect the people that it is trying to reflect. And so, it's just part of the movie. And it does show up here and there.
Yeah, I agree to that point. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the movie involves such language as the F slur.
Yeah,
it's also honest. It's also true to life that like that kid in 1987 bullying another kid is going to use the F slur on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did. Kids did that. Kids did that up until kids do that now.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, Sean and Patrick come across Horace being bullied by EJ and Derek. Horace, played by Brent Shalom, unfortunately died at just 22 from pneumonia. He's so great in this. Really a shame that he died so young.
Yeah, he is. He really does crush it in this movie. He has some of the best funniest lines in it.
Mm-hmm. Rudy rolls up on his bike, all cool and tough. He does like the side skid in. Wonderful. And the fight immediately stops, and EJ is terrified enough that he finally gives in to eating the candy bar that he stomped on rather than face Rudy's wrath and revenge for his friend Horace, as he says. Very fun intro for Rudy. I like this like middle school version of like tough guy. It's a classic.
Yeah. Rudy's another kid where he's like that. If you're watching this growing up, like this kid isn't cool at all. Like this kid is disturbed and easily the biggest nerd
Yeah.
of all of these kids. Case in point, he's like he's older than all of them, and but why is he's just hanging out? He's only seen hanging out with these younger kids. He's like riding around his bike. He's got like his loafers and white socks. He's like trying so hard to posture and look cool.
Oh yeah. I'm honestly surprised he didn't have the cards in the spokes of the bike.
Oh yeah, to make it sound like a motorcycle.
Yeah. Now here's a question that we have to address. Can Wolfman drive a car?
You know what? I feel like I gotta say, yeah. I mean, why can't Wolfman drive a car? I mean, I think that question is like, what degree of intelligence have we seen Wolfman possess?
Right, and they say that he maintains his dignity enough to put on pants.
Yeah, to cover. Well, those movies were made in the 40s.
Right, so true. So true.
They had to.
Yeah, you don't want to see his wolf dork
on the costume that they would inevitably have to put on. I feel like he definitely can. And I would say my evidence, I know this is a different film, but in werewolves drive a car.
Sure. Look, I'm inclined to agree. I think that a Wolfman could drive a car, and I think that they could do it pretty well, in fact.
Yeah, it's not he's got to maintain, because it's mostly muscle memory.
Yeah, and it's an animal instinct too,
Yeah, they're very, because I mean I think the argument that they can't drive a car presupposes that they have the intellect of a wolf, right? But I mean, this is a wolf that adapts instantly to walking on two legs and having hands and thumbs. So I think in that sense, I think the same parts of your brain that would allow you to instantly remember how to walk around and manipulate objects as a man, as a person, would allow you to also drive a car.
Asked and answered. This question was pondered by Sean and Patrick as they walk home from school, accompanied by Sean's sister Phoebe, who sees scary German guy scarily staring at them from his scary house.
Terrifying.
This is another classic trope. You get your Home Alone guy, the neighbor who's creepy and turns out to be a nice guy. Works well every time. Yeah,
they're creepy because they're old.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, he stays inside a lot and he's older.
How dare he?
Like, I'm so close to that. I'm just a few years from that.
Especially with quarantine, we were all really getting our practice in. Up in the sky, two pilots hear a noise from the cabin behind. Typically not a big deal, but this is a funerary plane. Woo! I actually do think this moment is spooky in a fun, suspenseful way. I think there's a great performance by David Proval really selling it as this pilot here.
Yeah, I love what high billing he has in this movie. And like, I don't know what, like, the only other thing I know him from is his Richie Aprile. That's it. So why I don't know why he's built so above Brent Chalem in this movie.
Yeah.
Like way before him.
Wow.
And he's not an important character at all.
Wow. They saw this scene and they said he's shining.
It was like this prescient moment to just like bill him so high. like he was a big get for them.
I guess so. To someone.
He must have been in something else that I don't know about.
So he goes back. There's bats. There's rats. Worst of all, there's dracs. Actually, just one. Dracula is there.
One is all you need. One's bad enough.
So true. He opens up the hangar door, flies the heck out as a bat. A coffin also drops out into the lake, which starts a bubbling. Rudy is brought into the Monster Club by Horace after he passes a monster test. Can't just get into a Monster Club, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, membership's really exclusive.
He's distracted by the view into a neighbor's bedroom, but Sean entreats Rudy, come on, it's a monster test. It's important. And he's right.
It is.
Very cute that Phoebe wants to join too. She knows about monsters, but tellingly, when Sean gets called away to dinner, Rudy is also secretly invested in joining, which I think is a fun moment where he's like, well, am I in or what?
Oh yeah. He's posing this whole time. He's like, yeah, I'm cool. These kids think he's cool, so he's letting them continue to think he's cool.
Exactly. Sean's mom has gotten him a book at a yard sale that was written by Van Helsing himself, and Sean is pleased as punch, although it does require translation. Dracula, meanwhile, looks over the town and says, "Let it begin." Very ominous, very fun. And then we finally get to this scene of Sean trying to approach his dad about going to see Groundhog Day Part 12. And like I said, boy, does this feel relatable to like kind of just wandering up real casual. It's so obvious that you want something. The dad is like, "Sean, what are you looking for?" And he's just like, "Oh, me and some of the fellas were thinking about going to see Groundhog's Day 12 tonight." It's just so relatable. It totally brings me back to being a kid, which is something that I think that this movie is uniquely situated to pull off.
Yeah, this movie is hyper authentic. Like the home moments in this movie are so real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Sean walking in, like that scene where Sean walks into the kitchen for dinner and he grabs Kara's mom, pulls it out of his hand. In the background, like Phoebe's like just shouting at the TV, just saying nonsense, saying boring guy. Like being like a loud little kid and no one's acknowledging it. It's perfect. And like the tone of the conversation between him and dad, the tone of the conversation between him and mom, like watching your parents fight secretly, like, man, it brings you back, dude. It's exactly like what it was like.
Yeah, it's incredible. And dad does say, "No, you got to babysit," as nicely as possible. He's like, "We'll go see the movie tomorrow. Like, sorry, but we got to do this." And it's not like it's for nothing. It's so that he can go to marriage counseling.
Yeah, he's trying here.
But even that gets interrupted by being called into work. Now, at the police station where he's being called from, because he is a police officer, there's a guy screaming about being a werewolf needing to be locked up. That's not what they're calling about, though.
Don't worry, we got that.
That's under control.
Something more pressing is happening.
Yeah. Also, I say that it's under control. They light this fool up, but they're calling him in because a 2,000-year-old mummy has vanished. A literal ton of time gone in smoke. We also get some classic comedic editing here to cut from 2,000-year-old dead guys do not just walk away by themselves to the mummy doing just that, which is, of course, also very similar to the one in Fred Dekker's previous movie, Night of the Creeps. Also a very fun movie, but I think that this, you can see how that was kind of a trial run for making sure that this worked really well. I think that it's a great joke. I'm not surprised that he went back to that well. The werewolf does get shot up at the police station, like I said, but he's not dead because it's just regular bullets. Transforms in the coroner's van or whatever. It's transporting the body, and he attacks. He's drawn to Dracula, who seems to be controlling him with a cane, clearly a reference to the one in the original, as discussed in our very own Wolfman episode right here, just a scant few weeks ago. Gilman also rises from the depths, holding the coffin that dropped containing Frankenstein. Everyone's back. Handy little conductor that Dracula has in that cane. Very convenient.
Oh, yeah. Does your cane not have a lightning rod and any electrodes in it?
I'm telling you, American workmanship has gone down the toilet. I haven't gotten one in the last 3 canes that I bought.
Yeah, that was some real Swiss canesmanship if I've ever seen it.
So true, so true.
I love this scene so much, like the meeting of the monsters,
the little freeze on them.
yeah, they're just, and they have this moment together where they're just being excited, enjoying it, and they're like,
"We're monsters!
Yeah, we're doing it! We're doing the monster thing!" And like,
it was a monster mash and a graveyard smash.
Dracula's like, "All right, get out there. Start spooking kids out, all right? Start creeping everybody out. Start making everybody uncomfortable. Getting everybody in trouble with their parents.
Hide in kids' closets." Sean sees a message that he got from a Mr. Alucard school, and he's interested in the Van Halen diary. Funny error from the mom. Possible 3 money.
Possible free money in exchange for this thing that I bought.
But wait a minute. Something about that name. It couldn't be. Alucard is Dracula backwards?
But like, that's not the first place he goes.
No, it's not.
First he sort of tries a couple anagrams.
Yeah, like he's like, I'm unscrambling this.
which is a totally normal reaction to receiving a message.
Totally. Look, he's only offering 3 money. There's something is fucked up here.
And these are the days before you could just Google the number, I guess.
Yeah.
Also cute that Dracula leaves phone messages. And weirdly, I kind of do think, again, the kid logic again is flawless, perfect. Yeah. Like watching this movie as a child was like, yes, duh, of course Dracula would call first.
Hello, Mrs. Sean's mom. I would like to buy the Van Halen journal.
This is Alucard. I'm possibly from Sean's school. I should like to give you some free money.
Free money.
How do I know you bought the book, you ask?
No.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, man. So Sean assembles the Monster Club, and he declares them to now be the Monster Squad, there to dispatch the real-life monsters that have arrived. For example, Dracula and the mummy in a little boy's closet that a pissy dad fails to see. A very funny scene.
Man, I feel so much for Eugene.
Oh, poor Eugene.
Like, there is a monster in his closet. It happens for real. And like, man, how different the course of this film would be if like
he just looked in.
Isn't such a dick about it. like he's a little kid.
Yeah.
I mean, like all throughout watching this movie, I kept thinking of, man, like I bet there's more context to this in the book. Like, I know that there's not a book of this movie, and maybe there should be.
Yeah, where's that novelization?
Maybe there is where somebody's like really given all sorts of like deeper context, which I feel like there's like little hints of it throughout this whole movie.
Definitely.
Like Eugene probably has done that shit like every night for the past week. Probably like claims there's a monster in his room all the time. But still,
who hasn't been there?
Right.
The squad all agrees to take it seriously. Although the one time they do kind of poke at the kid logic is where Rudy questions how the dog got in the treehouse. It's like, how the hell did this happen?
It's an unanswered question. Like,
unanswered. We'll never know. He climbs. He's a wolfman.
Yeah, can a wolfman climb a ladder? That's the question should be asked. Because it's probably difficult for a grown adult to climb the ladder to that. Can we talk about that treehouse for a second? There's no way that kids built that treehouse.
No, definitely not.
Like that treehouse would cost you like $2,000 a month to rent it.
It's huge. It really is huge. It's nicely decorated as well. Plenty of zombie posters. You get some Fulci in there. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah, some Gilman action figures in the background.
Classic. Dracula is in this rundown mansion that has a classic statue armed secret passage. Gotta have one of those. Down in the dungeon, he visits Frankenstein and tasks him with getting the book back from the kids, killing them if they don't cooperate. Now, these kids are off at scary German guy's house because who else are they going to get to translate? And Frank comes across Phoebe in a scene very evocative of the original meeting with a little girl, which I liked very much. You know, there's all these little homages to the original that show up, you know, Wolfman kind of prowling through this foggy forest that looks a lot like it. All these moments that really let the love for the original movies shine through, which I can appreciate as a fellow fan of them.
I remember that specific scene in Frankenstein. That's a real like a real spooky moment too, because it cuts away there and you don't know what happened to Phoebe for a little.
Exactly. It really utilizes that cultural cachet that the movie has established, that Frankenstein has established, where you say, oh, I know this scene all these years later. I know how it plays out in that original. I know that this is an homage to that. How far are they going to go? It's really great editing.
Yeah, and it's early enough in the film where I feel like we kind of haven't set the rules for like how far can we go. Turns out, not that. But
that's true.
But yeah, man. Like you have no clue. You have no clue, and she's just this cute, innocent little girl.
She sure is, and she's having this meeting with Frankenstein while the boys eat a bunch of pie. As scary German guy translates very pleasantly. Nice dude. Good and evil are in constant flux, he says. And this amulet that they see in the journal is concentrated good and wards off evil. And the only way to destroy this amulet is shattering it on the specific balancing point of good and evil once every 100 years. And the forces of good have to do a ceremony that will stop the forces of evil by opening a portal to limbo. And hey, tomorrow is the day. Isn't that wild?
My gosh. Wild. You don't say.
It's perfect. Again, that kid logic that you don't even question the timing. I also love that this is like, it gives you a little additional context of what we saw at the beginning, even though we understood it enough that we got the plot of the movie, but just getting them to revisit and say like, oh, this is specifically a ceremony that they were doing to try and stop this guy. I like the way that it kind of adds a little extra flair or flavor to the beginning.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like 100 years ago, a bunch of vampire hunters, like grown up vampire hunters tried to do this same thing and they failed and all got sucked into like a black lightless hell.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
The problem is that they got to get a virgin to read the spell with the amulet, and then blammo. Should be easy.
It blows me away watching this movie now. Like, well, why not like
literally any
kids? About any of these little tiny boys.
I like that they're just like, oh, hey, Rudy, know any virgins? Like,
yeah, me. There's
everyone.
I'd say we mostly know virgins. As children.
Phoebe does show up again. She introduces them to Frankenstein. They run away a little bit, but it's okay. He's friends with them now. Nice intro to him from Phoebe as something more than what he's sort of positioned to be.
Oh yeah, I think possibly my favorite single moment in this movie is coming up right now, and that's like the cutaway from the scene where Phoebe's standing there holding Frankenstein's finger. She's like, "Can I be in the club now?"
Oh man,
like I brought Frankenstein. Like she's I really enjoy her in this movie. I feel like she's kind of the MVP of this movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She really is fantastic. She's been trying to get into this club all along. She can finally buy entry. It's just delightful. Also, I'm curious to ask. I meant to ask this at the beginning. Which is your favorite monster of these in the Monster Squad?
Oh man, it's tough for me. I mean, like I said, I dressed up as this Dracula like 5 times. So I'm very, very big into Dracula here. I really love the Wolfman too. But I feel like the one that's like, to me, looks the coolest and feels the most unique to this movie is the Gill Man.
Yeah.
Like, the Gill Man doesn't really do too much in the movie. Like, I feel like you get the most action out of the Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had to remove all the monsters from this movie and make it just one, I feel like the Wolfman gives you the most to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But the Gill Man just looks so rad.
He sure does.
I love the look of the Gill Man, and I love that. I love that Horace deals with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting moment of self-actualization for Frankenstein when they hand him a mask of himself. Very sad when he realizes he's scary, and but it's sweet when they all walk home together.
Yeah, they walk off into the sunshine with Frankenstein. That nobody's around to question it. They're just walking down the middle of the street. There's nobody like driving by, slowing down a little bit. Like,
question that. Why would you question?
Whatever. He looks fine. Don't be chicken shit. He's friends with us.
He is friends with us. Drac and the Wolfman track down the amulet behind a wall, and Dracula is psyched. While Monster Squad goes through a classic school day montage, more like monstrage for this movie, though.
Man, the song, like I've been singing the song to myself all day. Like
it's great.
Anticipation. Not until you drop. But I especially love this whole montage because of how ludicrous it is. Like particularly Rudy's portion of the.
He does all the real stuff.
That's everything. Okay, so let's break it down. Let's see what everybody achieves.
All right, yeah.
Montage. Horace doesn't do anything. He's he's basically absent from the montage. Patrick makes some cards.
Great.
He makes the cards. That's important. How are you going to get the word out? You got
right.
This is a business. If this movie were made today, Patrick would be managing the Instagram account, like TikToks.
Perfect.
Sean worries about how much time is left. Sean watches the clock, and Rudy makes bullets. Makes a shitload of bullets in school.
Yeah.
He's evidently stolen all of Sean's mom's silverware, virtually all of it. A lot of it.
A lot.
It's this big silverware case, and there's a shitload of it missing. He's made a box of bullets.
Yeah. A bunch of steaks as well.
Yeah, just in this gloomy, ill-lit shop in school. In addition, he's also doing a fake dummy project to show to the teacher. Be like, oh, I'm not making weapons here.
He's great at shop.
He makes so many, and they work. He makes functioning bullets. I'm sorry. I feel you need more than silverware. He steals the bow and arrow. He gets some photos developed. He has time in all this to get some photos developed as well.
Sure. He dropped those off at the beginning of the montage, does all the other stuff, comes back. It was a 1 hour photo. I will say Eugene sends a letter off to the army.
That's right. Yeah, that's the most important part. Yeah. Your army guys.
Yeah.
Our monsters.
And Phoebe does dress up Frankenstein like E.T. That's important too.
That is true, yeah. Bonding moment between Phoebe and Frankenstein. Yeah.
Indeed. Dracula, unfortunately, is also preparing, and he's tied up the Wolfman and kidnapped 3 women to be his new brides. Wolfman is only pretending to be out of it, though, and he makes good his escape, getting to a phone and warning the police right before he turns. Doesn't look pleasant, but dang, does it look good.
Oh, man, it's amazing. It's truly horrific. It looks incredible. Like if you put this in a movie today, it would look as good, I feel like.
Yeah. While the boys scout out a potential virgin to read the spell for them, creatures take Eugene's Twinkie.
Yeah. I got to question the division of labor in the Monster Squad and their planning here. I don't know if they're utilizing everybody's talents the most. All right, we're going to go try to break into the monster's house. We're going to go face to face with the monsters. We're going to have Rudy, the muscle of the group, basically. We're going to have him stay back at the glove house.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I thought that he was suave enough to convince what's his name's sister, Patrick's sister. But she's none too pleased. And so unfortunately, they have to blackmail Patrick's sister with nude photos that Frankenstein's monster accidentally took for her to do it.
Yeah. I mean, the facade really begins to crumble for Rudy at this point.
Yeah.
I think this moment outs him as being kind of a creep, and kind of kind of the biggest dork in the group. I feel like, again, Like he's so not smooth about it, and he's trying so hard. Like, and inquire as to at some point in time the degree to which you may or may not have been dorked. And then just the utter creepiness, then to extort her with these like, hey, see these we were spying on you in our clubhouse, and our monster friends took these pictures of you. We're gonna post them publicly if you don't do what we say.
It's not ideal.
Rudy, come on, man.
You're better than that, Rudy.
And he gets better than later in the movie.
He sure does. And the other half of the team, like you said, the division of labor here is they're approaching the old mansion that we saw Dracula in earlier. The ceiling crumbles on Frankenstein after Dracula explodes a trap on them. And Sean is just like, fuck that guy.
He's the leader, man. He's the Captain Kirk.
He certainly was. And he said that we have to press on despite Dracula knowing that we're here and already taking out the biggest member of our party.
Dude, you got to give it to Sean. Like he's such a brave kid. He's
determined.
He's stepping up, being the leader of the monster squad.
Sure is. They are immediately attacked by Wolfman, who Horace fends off with a swift kick to the nards. Very, very famous line. Of course, everyone knows Wolfman's got nards. Tried and true.
Dude, and just Sean screaming, kick him in the nards, kick him in the nards, kick him in the nards. Oh, man, it resonates with me so much because like the panic in his voice. Like, why wouldn't you? Like whenever I'm watching monster, even all my life, whenever I'm watching like a monster movie or something like that, I'm like, why don't you just like kick
it's worth a shot.
Just try it. Why not?
Yeah, what's the worst that happens? Is it just continues to not work? Like
because if it doesn't work at all, then he's gonna kill you. So,
but that was gonna happen anyway. So might as well give it exactly. Get that kick in there. Wolfman is recovering though, and they run into the brides of Dracula and then Dracula himself, and they're cornered, or are they? Thanks to the Hardy Boys, they find another secret statue lever and drop down a trap door. Classic. This is why you got to have those around.
Yeah, this is like a beautiful, perfect funhouse scene.
Yeah. There they find the amulet, and Dracula tries to get it from Sean, which I like this moment of like, again, this is something that feels like it could be explored in a novelization, but there's enough of it to pick up on that like he couldn't take the amulet because it's concentrated good, and so he needed Sean to grab it.
Oh yeah, and there's all these crosses. There's all this like crucifixes and crosses all scattered around the room.
Yeah,
it's like to ward away Dracula. So yeah, I love this moment in the movie where he just like is laying in wait for someone to grab it out of there for him. It's perfect. And the pizza thing and the pizza in his pocket, like I'm a bit troubled by the cheap joke of course, the fat kid is walking around with pizza in his pocket. Not saying I've never done it. Not saying I've never walked around with like a pizza or like a hamburger tucked away in my pocket.
Sure,
like that.
I've been there.
Yeah, you never know what's on to go. Sometimes your dad takes you to McDonald's before CCD and you don't have time to finish and you get a stick of burger in your pocket. But yeah, like him pulling the pizza is burning with the garlic, burning Dracula's face with the garlic it feels like a silly, jokey moment. But to circle it back to me as a horror fan and like fantasy logic and Stephen King logic, like the thing that appeals to me about a lot of that is like modernizations of of really old like horror and fantasy tropes, like interpreting what if you just did vampires but in modern day.
Yeah.
So like the idea that you would fight a vampire just with a piece of pizza with garlic salt on it, like yeah, it feels silly, but also in real life, if you were faced with Dracula and you had a pizza with garlic salt, fuck yeah, you're used. It's brilliant. Like it's still fun and funny, but it's also like real and honest, dude.
Yeah, and it's also another moment for Horace to really take center stage and prove that he is very brave. He does so much in this movie to really be ultimately the muscle of the group. You know, how many of the monsters does he take out just by himself?
Yeah. He's like the Samwise Gamgee of this this crew, dude. Like, because while Sean can be really brave about it. That's cool, but like Horace is scared shitless, and he goes anyway.
Yeah, share the load, Mr. Sean.
Yeah, all that's missing is Horace carrying Sean and Eugene on his back.
This gives them time to escape this pizza slap to the face, and Phoebe and scary German guy roll up on them in a Jeep, and they agree to all go to the old church with the amulet, which is perfect because monsters hate religious stuff. Done and done. The mummy climbs aboard. Pretty creepy, like I said. And then very fun also for them to tie his bandage to an arrow, which gets fired away, crumbling the mummy and just leaving a skull. And, him instigating his friend to go get the bandage, being like, don't be a chicken shit. Like, it's just great. It's so fun. What a fun moment in this movie that's been so jam-packed that this feels like it kind of slips under the radar, but it's such a great moment.
It is. It's really cool. It stuck with me so much. Like I've never forgotten this mummy unraveling scene.
Yeah,
and it feels like it makes sense, even though it doesn't. Like why would that work? Why would that work?
Magic bandages.
It's not all one piece. It's not like they just wrap a little bit around his toe, like it's all one piece. And the idea that he would be able to wrap it around and just on the fly get that one perfect shot into a tree.
Incredible.
Like he critted his role on it.
Although I was thinking, because I thought about this as well, where I was like, wow, very lucky that he got that tree. But if it went into the ground, it might have still worked, honestly. It just wouldn't have looked as good.
I mean, it was really rad, really dope. It's definitely a thing that you would that you would claim you did later on.
Yeah, and I think also, speaking to the critical role aspect of it, feels exactly like you would have killed it at like a 15 or whatever, and after all that, you're just like, all right, just get fancy with it, I guess.
Yeah, sure, you got it, but you rolled really high, so we're gonna make it ridiculous.
Right, the flavor text of it. Everyone is driving everywhere. Sean's cop dad is in pursuit of the kids with his partner and driving real fast because the werewolf said Dracula was going to kill his kid, but they run right through Dracula's car, which phases out. Very fun effect. Drac is pissed. He gets some TNT and he friggin' blows up that treehouse.
I love the Dracula move that Dracula, Lord of Evil, wielder of horrifying vampiric powers. He's like, I'll blow it up. I'll get some dynamite, chuck him through the treehouse window. It's super dark. But also kind of silly.
Yeah, tried and true measures. He needs it done quick.
Yeah, and, why not?
Sometimes transforming into a bat just ain't gonna cut it.
He's like, man, I guess I could invade their minds and lure them down here and bring them down into my dungeon and
that's a lot of work.
Turn them into the undead. But
yeah, he's got an amulet to steal. Who has time for all that stuff? Dad tries to stop him, but Dracula blows up Dad's partner in the squad car, and the bullets do nothing, and Dracula just flies off. I did also notice they did put the bullet holes in the house behind Dracula. He could have fucking killed his wife right there.
Yeah, dude, that's super spooky to me. I find that detail so eerie.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Now, Dad heads to town square to meet the squad, but the church is locked and the brides are approaching. So they're all starting to read the journal right there on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And Rudy successfully goes to hold them off while Patrick's sister struggles with the German. And Dracula Prime shows up with the dad in hot pursuit still, bursting into the church, guns a-blazing.
Oh yeah, that while driving, he's shooting Dracula's flying as a bat. Dad shows up driving his car, shooting the gun out his window, had a flying bat.
That's what you do.
in town square. Like this has been described as town square. Still really residential looking, but supposedly by its name, an area where there are people, and he's just like shooting a gun at a bat, flying in the sky while driving.
Blah, blah.
He hits it.
Even. Yeah, and he's about to blow up Dracula, who did get hit and like falls into he's in his half bat, half man transformation stage. Looks great. And Dad is about to blow him up when the Wolfman attacks again. But Sean and his dad push the Wolfman out the window and he explodes again. But that ain't a silver bullet, is it?
No, yeah. Really answers Sean's question from earlier. He suggests way to kill a werewolf, fall out a window onto a bomb.
Not the case.
Yeah. Turns out that doesn't work.
No, he reassembles, which is also very fun. I like that this is something that I don't see in werewolf stuff.
Yeah, like I've never heard that in werewolf lore that they pull themselves back together. It's awesome though. Like I accepted it right away. I feel like I keep saying this, but there are a ton of little scenes in this movie that just stuck with me so hard. And that's another one of them was the Wolfman pulling himself together.
Absolutely. And he reassembles himself and runs at Rudy, but more police arrive to hold him off. The plan is stalled, though, because Patrick's sister reveals that she's only a virgin because Steve doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, but...
Fucking Steve, ruining everything. Yeah,
Patrick's just a really great line delivery from Patrick. He's
Steve!
Like, and then like a really like a close cut after Patrick doesn't count, and then like cut to more like monster fighting action.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and Rudy gets a hold of one of the cops' guns, and he uses one of these silver bullets to kill the Wolfman, who thanks him as he expires. Holy shit! Yeah,
let's talk about how dark this is. Which. Again, for me, that's I mean that as a compliment. I love that about this.
Yeah,
like when Rudy first goes to fight these three vampire brides, like the way he's like, I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I? He's got like a cigarette wagging in his mouth. He's got his leather jacket with his bow and the stakes, and he's clearly milking this like badass moment.
Yeah,
he's a kid trying to be an action hero. And then, like taking a dead cop's gun and like shooting a werewolf and having the werewolf then turn back into a guy. Like where's Monster Squad 2 where Rudy is totally traumatized by this?
Yeah.
He's waking up screaming every night thinking about this.
It really feels like in Anchorman where they're like, Brick killed a guy. It's like Rudy killed a guy.
He killed like it's on like the rest of those, they died and they stayed monsters, but that guy, like you killed him and he's like, oh, I'm a person again as I'm dying because of you.
Yeah and he gets no time to grieve even because here comes Gilman.
Oh my god, but hey, Horace is in the goddamn club too.
That's right. While they're dealing with that, they also realize, hey, Phoebe is just a tyke, so she fits the bill to be certain, although again, not sure what the implication of all of these little boys not realizing that they too fit the bill.
Eugene being like, is she a virgin? Like, well, yes, Eugene. Also, yeah, you are too, bud.
You don't even know the word, pal. And the German guy says that he's going to help Phoebe read phonetically, and in fact is more accurate than Patrick's sister because she has more baggage being brought into it.
Yeah, and it's easier to learn a new language when you're a little kid.
Indeed. Horace, meanwhile, steals a gun, sees his bullies cowering in fear, refusing to let him in. And with no other options, all he can do is blow away that goddamn Gilman.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the one like maybe less cool thing about Gilman is the ease with which he's taken out. Turns out if you just shoot him, regular gun.
Yeah. The police could have handled that guy, but they all focused on the Wolfman.
They didn't. They shot the shit out of the Wolfman and Dracula. The Gilman, they're like,
he's got scales. That's gross.
Let's just try to cuff him. We don't know what's going to come out if we try to shoot him. He might have weird, stinky blood or something.
That xenomorph acid in him.
Yeah. Oh, but like, did we discuss the bully being Jason Hervey?
No, we did not.
Yeah. Jason Hervey is the bully. I love Jason Hervey.
Hell yeah.
MVP of the Wonder Years.
He's great in this. He's perfect. Love to hate him kind of bully.
Yeah. This kid picked on all of us in school. This kid picked on me in school for sure. Yeah.
EJ and Derek are suitably impressed by Horace killing this Gilman, even though they still call him Fat Kid. And Horace, of course, gets his iconic line of "My name's Horace." Click, click.
Again, like definitely a cool, triumphant moment. Like little dark.
Yeah. The reading is going well, but Dracula's attack has arrived too. Phoebe is scared, but persists as Dracula approaches, and he dispatches cops with ease. Scary German guy tries his best, but is obviously quickly tossed aside as well. Where Dracula grabs Phoebe and the amulet, famously terrifying the shit out of her for real when she didn't know about the fangs and red contacts. And it is a really great moment where, we've seen him do the transformations and stuff, but this is the first kind of real display of his powers in this humanoid form. And for him to still have an effective moment, a moment where he looks scary and has these great effects, I think is important and fun.
Yeah, it's such a little thing, like I feel like there's might be a tendency, like, again, if this movie was made today, to have Dracula turn into some like weird, horrifying monster at this point. But yeah, I think this is the scariest moment for Dracula in this movie, and it's small, like it's like a really small thing, like he just has the little fangs, but like, oh man, it's ear just like holding her up like that, and he curses at her.
Yeah. And he's clearly really enjoying it. He's a bad dude, and you can see him relishing the fear of this little girl. Now, Frank doesn't like the treatment of his friend like that, so he throws Dracula, who gets impaled on a metal fence, which gives Phoebe the time to finish the chant and summon the portal to Limbo. Dracula grabs Sean to take him along into Limbo, but Sean grabs a stake on the way, giving him time to get loose, and Van Helsing to finish pulling Dracula into Limbo from inside the portal. Great little triumphant moment for him to return as well. Sean gets to stab Dracula. Totally. Thumbs up. T2 style, fading into the lava.
Why is he doing the thumbs up? like he's been in limbo. I've been in limbo, but we still have TV there. So
been watching all along.
It's not that bad. Like, so I'm current.
Unfortunately, Frank has to go too, because he does not belong in this world. Phoebe is distraught, but throws him the stuffed animal to remember her by. Such a sweet moment. I'm really glad that they end on this like little family moment to kind of bring it all back. I think it's just great. And like you say, Phoebe has kind of been the emotional core this whole way. And I think that this is a good thing to go out feeling good and not thinking about these kids murdering a bunch of guys.
Yeah, and Phoebe making a really adult decision, I feel like, at the end. Like it's silly. She's been carrying this little dog around the entire movie, right? Like I feel like you almost never see her without it.
Yeah, it's really great. And the army shows up just as everyone celebrates, responding to Eugene's letter. And the Monster Squad is just the fellas to tell him what the Sam Hill is going on around here. Rap outro to summarize. We love it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the army really responds. Like it's the last like strike of the kid logic.
Yeah.
Like again, it made perfect sense. It made perfect sense to me as a kid growing up. I was like, yeah, if you wrote a letter to the army and you were serious and you were like, there are monsters, please come. Like, why would they not respond to that? Why would they not respond to like they'd show up with tanks and shit and jeeps? Just the whole army shows up,
Yeah.
like led by this one dude, this one old sergeant with a mustache.
And they really lean into it too, because when he shows up, he takes Eugene seriously still. When he's like, which one of you is Eugene?
Like, all right, son, where are they? Where are the monsters? Yeah. Like this little kid. This little kid with a beagle and a striped shirt and a little Civil War cap. Like, oh man, this like kid from if someone drew a cartoon picture of a cute little scamp. Like the only thing Eugene's missing is a slingshot sticking out of his back pocket.
So true. So true. And now, Andrew, we've reached the point of the episode where we sum up why this is not just a good horror movie, but is in fact the best horror movie ever made. I'm going to let you start things off.
I mean, like, first things first, it's like just in the practical sense, this is one-stop shopping for monster movies. I mean, Dracula's in it, Frankenstein's in it, the werewolf's in it, Gilman's in it, there's Mummy. There's at least like four other, Bride of Dracula vampiresses. There's a bunch of zombies in the beginning of the film, but mostly and more seriously is like we've been kind of like laughing about some of the sillier aspects of this film and like kind of refraining on the kid logic aspect of it, but I mean, I think this movie is incredibly self-aware. Like I think that's all by design. Like it wears all that perfectly and beautifully. It works amazingly. I mean, as I've said this over and over again, but as a child, this movie worked for me on a completely different level. Like this movie felt to me the same way that like Aliens did. Like when I was only a little bit older, I graduated stuff like Aliens and Predator and Commando and shit like that, and like and those movies all made me feel the same way. This didn't seem like a silly fun comedy to me growing up watching. But yeah, in so many ways, like it really does work as a horror film. It really does work as a comedy, and it has a lot of like actual like sweet like emotional moments in it that are really true and honest and really work. So like it's fun to like watch it and laugh at it, but it's also it's good, man. This is a legit good movie.
I totally agree. To me, this is the best horror movie ever made because there is a time capsule element of it in that, first of all, the makeup effects and the practical elements of this movie would not be the same even just a few years later. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it was made in the late 80s where these practical effects were so advanced and being revolutionized by people who were working on this very movie, that is so beautiful to me and such an interesting thing to come to this movie and look at it through that lens. But there is also a timelessness to it where I think that I am a little bit younger than this movie, but I am still very much able to see myself in the friends group. And I think that would be the case for probably anybody. Mm-hmm. The language may have changed, but the dynamic between them is still very much at play, I think, a lot of times. And at its core, there is so much real friendship there. The authenticity that we talked about is certainly helped by not just Shane Black being an incredible writer and Fred Dekker as well, but also, the two leads being actually best friends and things like that.
Yeah, I didn't know that about the movie, and when I was watching it today, I was thinking that because the chemistry between Patrick and Sean it's so natural and real.
Yeah,
and I remember thinking, I feel like in the background of this, I feel like Sean and Patrick were already friends, and like they know Horace because of the Monster Club. Like they know Horace and Eugene because they also like monster magazines and Universal Monsters. But like Patrick and Sean really do feel like kids who were just friends anyway. They were already friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have all of these elements at play, to say nothing of the fact that it is funny. It is a very funny movie. There is so many great jokes in here, so many lines that have held up through the years. You know, the horror moments are fantastic. They are present. There are moments that do creep me out a little bit. You know, I said that the moment where you hear the noise behind them on the plane, and they've been talking about how it's like a funerary plane. That's a great little thing.
It is.
It's just so much fun. It is filled with joie de vivre. and for that, it is the best horror movie ever made. Andrew, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, man. This was an absolute blast. Please tell people if you have any plugs, any shows that you might be doing, social media stuff, all that jazz.
Oh yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me, George. It was tremendous good time to do it. To be completely honest with you, I was nervous about it because I haven't done anything since the pandemic started. As far as comedy and acting and all that, like I've honestly been pretty idle. Like I've been taking time for other stuff. But this is the first thing. This is the first thing I've done. My unretirement from being funny on purpose.
Well, I'm glad to do it. Wow, taking the jersey off the rafters.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm coming back. I'm back. Awesome.
Well, yeah. So, do you have a social channel or anything that people can check out?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram. That's the social media platform that I enjoy the most, that I engage with the most. At Andrew J. Stanton.
Perfect. Easy enough. Check him out there. As far as my plugs, you can check me out at Little Horror PHL. That applies pretty much everywhere. But similar to Andrew, I also have a preferred social media platform. But for me, it's Twitter. So mostly you can find me on Twitter. There's also a Patreon if you're enjoying the show, where for just a few bucks a month, you can get all kinds of bonus episodes, including October's Patreon episode was I had some Simpsons super fans on to rank our top 5 shorts from the first 10 Treehouse of Horrors. That was a lot of fun. And we might even be having an extra Patreon episode this month featuring the Goosebuds coming on to talk about Goosebumps, the Jack Black one, which I thought was actually pretty fun. So look forward to that. All kinds of good stuff. And rate and review if you're enjoying the show, because it really helps. All right. Thanks again, Andrew. Bye, everyone.